The crew was busy trying to entertain the princesses. This involved Pippin accidentally wearing a hula skirt and Belcher, who had miraculously recovered the moment he heard about the royal dinner, sneaking back to the base to try and reclaim the glory. The climax occurred during the royal banquet. Belcher, convinced that one of the princesses was actually a sailor in disguise, specifically a crewman named Chuckles, who was suspiciously good at dancing, grabbed a royal veil and shouted, "I've got you, you phony Balinese bunny. You're under arrest." He pulled the veil to reveal the Sultan's youngest daughter. The Sultan rose, his face a thundercloud. "Captain Belcher, your unpardonable behavior will be reported to the United Nations. I will have your epaulets for breakfast." 2. Belcher stood frozen, holding a piece of silk, while Sterling leaned back and whispered to Pippin, "I think our acting commander is about to go back on the sick list." Pate, the laughing gas maneuver. Belcher's humiliation with the Sultan only fueled his hatred for Sub-Lieutenant Pippin. He decided that the bumbling oaf had to go. He called for a fitness board, a military hearing designed to strip Pippin of his rank and send him to a desolate rock in the middle of the ocean. "I'm a regular Casey Jones when it comes to railroading." "Sterling," Belcher cackled. "Pippin is done. Kaput. I've got his record right here. Torpedoed a garbage scow because he thought it was a camouflaged submarine. The boy is a walking disaster." The crew knew they had to save Pippin. Their plan was born in the local dental clinic. "Laughing gas," Sterling suggested. "Nitrous oxide. If we can get Belcher into a happy mood before the hearing, he might just forget he hates us." On the day of the hearing, the scoundrels rigged the ventilation system of Belcher's office. As the Commodore sat at his desk, preparing his list of grievances, a faint, sweet-smelling vapor began to hiss from the floorboards. "Now then, Pippin," Belcher began, his voice surprisingly light, "about that garbage scow." "Ha! Ha! Oh, it was a riot. Potato peels everywhere. You thought they were torpedoes. Ha ha." Pippin blinked. "Sir, you're not mad?" "Mad? I'm Bingy Winky. I'm a barrel of fun," Belcher shouted, dancing on his desk. "Tell him Pippin is a chucky-wucky hero." The plan was working perfectly until Admiral Ironhide Hammer actually arrived. He walked into the office to find the Commodore wearing a garland of flowers and trying to feed a peanut butter sandwich to a filing cabinet. "Binghamton, what in the name of the Great White Fleet is going on here?" Hammer roared. "Hi, Admiral, you're just in time for the party." Belcher giggled, pinching the Admiral's cheek. "Have some happy juice." "Way." Sterling, realizing the gas was working too well, staged a distraction. A fake air raid. "Admiral, get to the shelter. We're under attack." In the chaos, Pippin, still unaware of the gas, ended up manning a deck gun. By a miracle of sheer clumsiness, he accidentally tripped over a shell, which fired into the air and hit a stray Japanese scout plane that had been hovering nearby just to see what the noise was. The plane went down in a ball of fire. "Magnificent," Admiral Hammer shouted, ignoring the giggling Belcher. This lad stood in the face of death and laughed. "He's a combat hero. He's the most fearless officer I've ever seen." Pippin looked at the flaming wreckage. I have a request, sir." "Anything, son." "Permission to faint, sir. Patif, the crocodile, and the missing payroll." The final act of the Portopoodle saga began with a missing bag of money. $62,000. The entire base payroll had vanished while Pippin was transporting it past a local casino. "He ate it," Pippin sobbed. "The crocodile ate the payroll." "Pudge. Crocodiles don't eat money," Sterling sighed. "They prefer tourists." But Pippin was insistent. He had befriended a local crocodile named Barnaby, named, much to Belcher's fury, after the Commodore. Barnaby had been spotted wandering the base with a leather wallet in his mouth, a wallet containing Belcher's ID card and several crisp $100 bills. Belcher was ecstatic. "Theft, grand larceny, I've got you now, Sterling. You and your lizard-loving ensign are headed for the brig. The court-martial was the social event of the season. Belcher acted as the prosecutor, pacing back and forth with a smug grin. Your Honor, the defendant claims a reptile stole the money. This is the most ridiculous story since the Sultan's chicken greeting. I object, Pippin shouted. You can't call Barnaby stupid. He had a very unhappy childhood. Just as the judge was about to deliver a guilty verdict, a heavy, wet, dragging sound echoed through the courtroom. The doors swung open. In crawled Barnaby the crocodile. In his massive jaws was a canvas bag marked U.S. Navy, payroll. The courtroom erupted. Sterling stepped forward. Exhibit A, Your Honor. It seems the key witness for the defense has arrived to clear his name. As it turned out, the payroll hadn't been stolen by the crew. It had been hidden in an old, decorative cannon by a pair of local gamblers who intended to retrieve it later. Barnaby, who apparently had a nose for high finance and peanut butter, had sniffed it out, but the final twist was yet to come. As the bag was opened, the money began to fly everywhere. A gust of wind from the overhead fan caught the bills, showering the courtroom in green paper. Belcher scrambled on the floor, grabbing at the cash. It's mine. It's the Navy's. 42,365. 42,366. Admiral Hammer, who had been observing the trial, shook his head in disgust. Binghamton, you're a disgrace. You're more worried about the pennies than the fact that your base is being run by a crocodile and a group of pirates. But, Admiral, the money. Forget the money. I'm transferring you to a desk job in the Aleutian Islands, somewhere where the only thing you can annoy is a polar bear. Epilogue. The more things change. A week later, the S.S. Rust Bucket was anchored off a secluded beach. Sterling was in a hammock, sipping a drink out of a coconut. Pippin was busy trying to teach Barnaby the crocodile how to salute. You know, Skip, Pippin said, I'm going to miss the Commodore. Things are going to be awfully quiet around here without him screaming. Don't worry, Pudge, Sterling replied, looking at the horizon. Pippin grinned. Well, in that case, do we have any laughing gas left? Sterling laughed, the sound carrying across the water of Portopoodle. The war was long, the islands were hot, and the rules were many, but as long as the Sterling scoundrels were afloat, the Pacific would never be a boring place. The End, The Chaos, Chronicles, a novel of military mishaps, caimans, and comedy. Begemini. Chapter 1. The Great Garter Belt Crisis. Colonel Silas Sawface Sterling was a man whose blood pressure lived in a permanent state of high-altitude mountaineering. He sat behind his mahogany desk on Isla de Caos. Garter belts, Pringe! Sterling screamed, his voice reaching a frequency that caused local tropical birds to fall out of the trees. The nurses are demanding garter belts, and you're standing there, looking like a confused manatee. Captain Pringe, a man whose spine was made entirely of sycophantic jelly, nodded frantically. I'm trying, sir, but the supply chain is, well, it's more of a supply cobweb at this point. Snap to it. Shake a leg. Do whatever it is people do when they aren't being useless. Sterling slammed the drawer. Everything is on my shoulders. I'm the commanding officer of this jungle hellhole, not a haberdasher. And to top it off, the sinks at the officers' club are backing up again. What am I? A plumber? Sir, Pringe whispered, leaning in with the terrified grace of a man delivering a death warrant. I just got a message. General Iron Gut Ironside is arriving today for a sneak inspection. The color drained from Sterling's face, leaving him the shade of a boiled turnip. Look at this place. It's an asylum, run by the inmates. Sterling's stomach did a somersault. His acid reflux could have powered a small tank. I can't face him, Pringe. My nerves are shot. If I were sick, truly, medically incapacitated, I could appoint an acting commander. Someone else would have to take the heat. Someone expendable. A wicked glint entered Sterling's eye. Maverick was a charismatic rogue.